Welcome, everybody, to the 2020 first episode of Classic IndyCar Series podcast. I'm your host, Josh Baird. I've been with Classic IndyCar Series for about 3 years now. And along with me is Robert Grosser, three-time world champion, and looking for his next title, maybe next year, in Classic IndyCar Series. Robert, why don't you give us a brief introduction?
Hey Josh, thanks for having me. Yeah, Robert Grosser, as you may know already, if you are involved in this league. 40 years old from Germany. Um, yeah, hobby sim racer since very long time. I guess before we even called it sim racing. Always been interested in racing games. Classic IndyCar series pretty much my focus nowadays, or since the last 3 years, I would say. Not doing any official racing, just doing CIS, and yeah, really looking forward to next season already. And what you also may have noticed, like, yeah, last 12 months, family life changed a little bit, became a bit more busy, a bit more focus on this. So I'm stepping back a little bit from the admin work in CIS.
Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do it without you coming up next year. You've been such a key player to keeping this thing alive, but I definitely understand the life business part of it. And then next up on here, we have Lucas Laville. He's the recent 2020 Classic IndyCar Series champion. Also leads the league in wins overall. So, Lucas, why don't you give us a brief introduction?
Hey Josh, thanks for having me. Yeah, leading the league in wins, but only having my first title this year. That's a bit disappointing in itself, but should be a good one next year. Apart from that, 27-year-old turned 27 a couple of days ago, actually, and from France, as you can hear by my wonderful accent. I've been in the league since the beginning, pretty much, and I've been involved in the admin duties with Robert for 3 or 4 years now, and everything's going very fine. Robert's always saying I do a lot, but really what I'm doing is being a community manager of sorts, and backing up Robert with everything he needs to do regarding emails and sponsor communications, stuff like that. Mostly I just crack up jokes and animate the Discord and the race sessions in themselves, but everything's going pretty fine.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate those jokes in the Discord channel and all the banter that comes along with it. I think that's one of the reasons why Classic IndyCar Series is one of my favorite leagues in iRacing, is just because the community, you do such a great job at making sure that the community sticks together and has a good time and doesn't take this too seriously, but still keeping it a competitive league. So we definitely appreciate that. And then next up we have Andrew, who's got 5 seasons under his belt in the Classic IndyCar Series, one of the long-time running drivers of the series. Andrew, you had a great year this year, I feel like. Why don't you give us a brief introduction?
Hey, Andrew Adair Saunders here, 29 years old, and yeah, as you said it, even though the Danlisa statistics will never ever approve this season was definitely my strongest, and one of the races I really look back to is the New Hampshire one, in which I finished 6th with probably the slowest car on the field. Other than that, other activities are race stewarding here. Probably have to take some activities from Robert over so that Lucas doesn't get overwhelmed. And also, I race Le Mans Endurance Series and Iconic. Other than that, CIS is my primary focus in terms of sim racing.
Yeah, didn't you have a podium finish in one of your other series, the Endurance Series, earlier this year?
A win in Season 2 Spa that came quite by a surprise, and that race was a bit crazy in terms that the top 6 all finished on the lead lap.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. So, thank you for your introduction, Andrew. I think my going on is one of my favorite races this year was I would say Kentucky. I'm I'm kind of biased in that, but that's probably one of my favorite I've done since the beginning. It was insane because it was such a tight race between Lucas and it was let's see here, Randy Shoemake, and that ended up winning that race. And then it was me and Andrew Aiken right behind with plenty of fuel to finish the race. If we would have had one more lap, I think you guys would have been done for, right, Lucas?
That's where we it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite the favorite race of mine this year. I really enjoyed all the races that we went through, though. I think Indy was very awesome this year. That would probably be one of my favorites as well, not including my own personal gains in that race. But Robert, what was your favorite race of the year?
I have to say Indy, I guess, because it was probably the biggest race win in my career, and it was a good race also.
Yeah.
But to some extent also Montreal. If I can separate between road and oval races for once, then I would say definitely Indy and on the oval side, and maybe also a bit ahead in terms of overall, but also like Montreal, that was like an awesome race, having this kind of comeback there after an early incident and just coming very short of winning that one. That was also great fun for sure.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a good one to watch. I was unable to make the Montreal race, but I definitely enjoyed watching the broadcast. Andrew, do you have a favorite this year, favorite race that you enjoyed?
New Hampshire. I think I already mentioned that one.
Okay. Do you feel like that maybe in the New Hampshire race, do you think there was a moment in there where you were like, oh man, this will probably be the best race or the best race this year, or were you just trying to ride under the radar and it just turned out to be the best race? Or
Well, I did not expect to be a good race. Even though I did a bit of preparations, the quality of the preparation was probably terrible. With the setup, I wasn't where I wanted to be, but the way the race turned out brought me a 6th place finish. I just drove my race, stayed out of trouble, and what else can you say?
yeah. Hey, sometimes that's the best way to win or to finish well in a race is just by finishing that. I definitely feel like my 2020 was definitely focused on finishing races, which definitely paid off for me in the end with the 7th place points finish for the season. So I definitely appreciate that. I would say after 3 years with CIS, it's definitely not been as, half as long as some of you guys have been, or all you guys have been racing in CIS. But do you think this was probably the best CIS season ever? Why don't we ask Lucas?
That's very debatable, and I mean, for a personal standpoint, for sure, because I'm the champ. But I feel like both this year and last year they're extremely competitive, and the field continues to grow and improve overall. So this is just a work in progress, pretty much. And yeah, we can say that this year was the best. But it really it keeps building on the very solid foundations we're having since the beginning, and especially since last year. With guys like Josh Chin, Henry Bennett joining full time, Josh Chin joining full time, Matt Cook running last year, Henry Bennett running the year before that full time. So we keep getting better and better drivers involved, and the guys in the mid pack and down can really improve from these drivers. So that's making everybody better, really. So. I mean, I'm very interesting for like towards next year and see who's going to join and who's going to improve the most, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that this year we had great outstanding performances from a lot of people. I think Johnny Garrett really took a step up this year when it came to his racing. I saw a few other names. Randy Shoemake got his first win, and we're seeing some of the regulars up there on the podium, such as Lucas and Robert. So it seems like it's getting a little tougher. I know that Iconic finished third in points this year, which was definitely a huge uptick from last year's team finish. So I'm definitely happy about that. I was gonna say we've had people like, you know, iconic names such as Henry Bennett, Josh Chin, and Matt Cook, Lucas Laville, Robert Grosser, to name a few. Robert, how do you feel this season went? Do you think it was the best year ever, especially with even participation levels? I think we broke a record there.
Participation-wise, we definitely started strong, very unexpected, causing a little bit of some kind of trouble at Sebring. It's a very tough question, as Lucas also pointed out. I mean, definitely having once again a three-way battle into the final race for the title, that is definitely something outstanding, because like in 19, Matt Cook was like so dominant that he was, I don't know, like two races before the end, he was wrapping up the title already. In 18 also, Henry was, I think, also wrapping up the title before the season actually ended. He was also quite dominant. Strong drivers, both of them, but yeah, I feel like this year the intensity for the championship fight, that was definitely on another level, and that is something which we haven't had since quite some time, or maybe it was the first time ever that it was really that intense and on such a high level also. You can't really compare it with stuff like 2016 and so on, because really the whole level of competition really got boosted. So sometime during 2017, 2018, it really got boosted.
Yeah, so the year I joined is when it all started going uphill. I guess that was bad timing on my part. I did notice that like Belle Isle was a huge race this year. It was a big win by Chin, but most of the other races, it seemed like it was pretty close from beginning to end. Andrew, do you feel like this was kind of one of the tougher years, or do you feel like maybe with being on Iconic this year, it was able to help out a little bit, get you some better setups for the race?
Well, this season was a bit tougher in terms that the quality of the field has become a lot more dense. Not necessarily, well, I don't know what else to say really regarding the other the things, but I want to say I started to be a bit negative here, but I do not consider this to be the best CIS season, because Corona will have skewed a few participation numbers in the beginning of the season. Yeah, that might have been good for us, but we gotta be honest, there were definitely a few races that were able to race service just because Corona gave them the time. But I wouldn't say that was the worst. I'd say this season was the second best.
Oh yeah, I mean, do you have an idea which one do you think was probably your favorite year compared to this one?
Definitely the 2019 season, the previous season, we had a lot of drivers. I think the least amount of drivers we had last year was 22. Robert, feel free to correct me on that statistic.
21.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and New Hampshire this season was only 17, if I remember correctly. So that's the only metric I can really go with. So it wasn't as good, but last year. But I'm not going to say it was a terrible season. It was definitely a good season.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and it looks like Sebring was a high point for us this year with 38 participants. And last year it was very close with Interlagos being 36. But I think overall, if you averaged out the numbers, 2019 definitely had a better participation turnout than 2019 did. But as you said, coronavirus may have played an effect, either both positively or negatively, towards this year's numbers. And hopefully we'll continue to grow as these years go on. I'm seeing a lot of new people join up. Even for just this off season, we've seen quite a few people turn up to join in on the winter festivities. I know that there was a lot of drama at the Indy 500 this year with the top three for the points contention, and it came down to even Josh Chin having that incident in the pits that kind of sealed the fate, I think, at that point. But man, it was such a close finish to the end. Just watching Robert and Lucas go to battle all the way up until the end of the race. Can you guys, one of you guys, maybe describe how you guys felt during that last few moments of the race?
Oh, the last few moments. Robert, do you want to take that one?
Shall I?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was really under pressure. And I don't know the right English word for that, but I was so stressed out, so maximum stressed out, because I felt I desperately wanted that win, no matter what. I knew that Lucas will not fight very hard because he had to secure his title. That was his main goal. So I thought, like, there is like, yeah, we will leave each other enough room for sure. But then there was also Jan. And then when he was taking the lead, I was like, oh my God. Now I really have to do something about it. And
Yeah.
oh boy, I mean, that is what the commentators always think, like R3 Vortex cars, and they are not going to hurt each other and all this, but it's not so. We were really racing hard. We were that. I mean, this year was even a bit different than last year, where we also had a similar situation. But this year it was even, we didn't even talk about our strategy calls in the very end. Like Jan was doing the undercut and was not clearly announcing it that he's going for it, and we were then, of course, also adjusting the car during the pit stops a little bit, and were not maybe also completely telling to the others what we were doing, and it was really competition. I mean, every one of us wanted to win. Even Lucas, just with a small idea for him that he really can't afford a crash. That was the only thing which kept him a bit calm, I guess.
Yeah.
If you can say that, I was calm, yeah.
So a lot of drama in the Indy 500 that even the commentators couldn't have predicted. It sounds like you guys were pretty racy up there then, and I definitely agree. I think from an iconic standpoint, we were actually thrown kind of aback by how the temperatures didn't really come up to temperature, and we were fighting in the race to try and even come up with some trick out of the setup bag to try and keep us up pace with you guys, and it seems like you guys made a really good call. But we're coming up on our first break, and we're going to go ahead and take that moment to go ahead and have a sponsor announcement, and then we'll be back here to discuss the 2021 expectations. Talk to you in a moment. Virtual RaceCar Engineer is a software package that includes the Setup Developer tool and the Virtual RaceCar Engineer, which assists with real and virtual race cars. The Setup Developer tool walks the user through a step-by-step process of creating and customizing your very own personalized baseline race setup. It does so by asking simple questions about the car type, track type, and behavior of the car on the track. The Virtual RaceCar Engineer further fine-tunes the baseline setup to get the most out of the car. Offering whole lap and corner-specific advice, VRCE will get the very best out of your setup. Both the Setup Developer tool and Virtual RaceCar Engineer can be found in the link below. Welcome back, everybody, after that nice first break there. I think we're going to go into talking about the 2021 expectations. I know that next year we got quite a bit of high expectations. I know for myself even that I want to try and accomplish some goals, personal goals, but also we want to accomplish some goals for the Classic IndyCar Series as well. So I think we're going to go ahead and take some time to talk about some of these off-season rules that we may look at during the off-season to try and see if we can improve those a little bit. Lucas, do you have any ideas of things that maybe for rules that we can look into doing better for 2021?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, we already identified some stuff that we would like to change as far as admins, us the admin team actually. First, like all the pit lane related rules that we would like to change, all the fast lane, slow lane stuff, the rules under yellow compared to under green, what we want to change regarding that, how it's gonna weigh on the point system. Maybe we're gonna add some more and get rid of some other stuff. Still a bit of discussion regarding this, but between the admin team's discussions are already underway, and more news will be coming up to you guys.
Yeah, I think some.
Not very shortly, but shortly. Sorry, Josh.
Oh, no problem. I was just gonna say, I think some like personal opinions I had about some of the rules this year was just that maybe that the pit lane, the fast lane, slow lane, maybe a little more strict. I think we knew what we wanted to accomplish with that was to try to prevent people from shortcutting or creating an accident in pit lane. But I think it may have ended up coming to a point where we were reviewing too many people maybe that were just maybe on the fence or something like that. So maybe this next year look to relax the rules a little bit, maybe get to the point where if it causes an incident in the pits, maybe to cause penalty point system. Or do you think that do you have anything off the top of your head that we may decide to change high level right now? Obviously, I know we're still pretty early on in the discussion process.
Well, the main idea is to I will take an example for that. And this year we had Randy Shoemake decided to not race. I think it was Las Vegas, just because it didn't want to get a penalty for Indy, and actually it was just a race ban for Indy, just because of one or two slow lane, fast lane stuff, or any other incident for that matter. Just didn't want to get penalized for that, just because he had during the year a bit too many pit lane related incident and penalty points. So this is definitely something that we didn't think about. I think Robert can agree with that. And we would like to avoid such situations to be repeated next year and the years moving forward. So this is really a very important point for us. We don't want people to not just have the fear of a race just because they want to drive into big one. So this is a big first step, and maybe Robert can come up with other ideas as well here.
Yeah, Robert. Do you have a take on that? Sorry, go ahead.
Nothing too much to add what Lucas said. I mean, we are looking into it. We want to give maybe a little bit of responsibility back to the drivers so that we don't, the incident review, you really have to see, there are some easy pit lanes, like in New Hampshire, where you can see the whole pit lane with one camera shot, and I'm sitting there and fast forwarding 200 laps and writing down every driver who is doing it wrong. On some curved pit lanes, this is much more difficult. You need different camera angles to do the same thing, again, for some 200 laps and some, 25 drivers. You can imagine how much of a workload it is, how much of a boring task it also is. Mm-hmm. And as Lucas said, the consequences which may result out of that, is it really what we wanted? Certainly not. The race ban was actually supposed to be for people who are having a tendency to crash a bit too often into other cars, and not having people sitting out races or being race banned because they drove in the wrong lane in pits when the pit lane, for example, was completely empty. So that is under review. That needs to be changed for next year. And then we will come up with something better, I hope. It's as always, it's a learning experience. Every year we are reviewing everything, then making changes to the rule book, and hope for the following season that it goes a bit better.
So the rule of thumb here is don't break any rules for Classic IndyCar Series, because it takes Robert a long time to review all these incidents. It must have been very painful to have to sit there and watch just pit lane violations. So I got to imagine that next year maybe it'll definitely help save some time by maybe not being as stringent. And like you said, putting the responsibility on the driver to maintain a safety in the pit lanes. I don't know if there's any rules that we want to consider adding or old rules that we want to consider getting rid of. Andrew, do you like how the rules were laid out in 2020, or do you think that you have any personal opinions that on 2021 what you would like to see from a rules perspective?
Well, there are not many rules I would like to change. What the one change I'm only mixed feelings about, partly happy, partly not happy, was the introduction of the penalty points system. We just to be able to park some drivers, with, as Robert said, who were crashing too often, and well, we need to find something that for the smaller stuff. That's what we should dig our heels into. What my dream is, but we cannot introduce at all, is if we could get some way in race time penalties. For me personally, that would be the fairest way of dealing with situations. But as everyone knows or should know, iRacing's result system doesn't allow us to do such a thing. So a lot of discussion. Other than that, not many rules that need to be changed from what I can remember on top of my head.
Yeah, definitely. I think for overall, I agreed with the rules that went on here, and I do not envy you guys having to sit there and steward all of the post-race incidents, even though next year I'll probably be taking my own stab at it as well. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what we can get done in the off season, and man, I'm sure it would help us a ton if we could just have a race steward. But we all know that we enjoy racing and not just sitting on the sidelines, making sure being the bad cop. So that having a steward might be a kind of a long shot dream, but maybe one of these days we can have somebody that would be willing to take on that responsibility. I think another go ahead.
Regarding that, if I keep crashing Robert out all the time, maybe he will come to Paris and break my legs, so I have to sit out, and maybe I can just be the advocate.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, if you keep wrecking him, maybe he'll just be the race steward after or during the races because he won't have anything else to do. But
you get a penalty. You get a penalty. Everybody.
Yeah, right. He'll put you in the pits first thing after.
Well, probably, yeah.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh, Lucas went off the line there. Your time to sit down."
That's right.
So another thing I think we wanted to end up talking about too this thing is some team changes. I know that Craig Hobson volunteered to take a look at some of our Classic IndyCar Series teams, and we created a new channel this year for the off season called Teams Discussion, if you want to check that out on Discord. But that allows us to identify if somebody's looking for a group or if there's a team looking for a driver. So I know we're already starting to make waves. Art McEwen has talked to Craig Hobson and is joining Galaxy here in the off season. I know that Johnny Garrett as well reached out to Iconic and is going to be racing with Iconic during the Winter Series, and hopefully we can keep him on for a little bit longer than that, but we'll see how he likes us. So if there's any other new team members that are open to trying out for a new team, or you want to start up your own, just reach out in that team discussion to Craig Hobson or I, and we'll get you hooked up. There is some independents that I saw this year that are pretty promising drivers. Johnny Garrett, who we stole over in Iconic, Ethan Egan is an independent as well. He finished in the top 10 this year, which was pretty impressive. I believe there were some independents. Independents actually finished 4th in points overall this year, so that tells me that there's a lot of good talent out there that just are not on a team with another driver. So do you guys see any independents like Ethan that could possibly be on a team next year?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the field is getting stronger, so teams will want to get the stronger drivers available. That's for sure. Like we have some very good drivers, like Marshall Stanley is running alone in Stantera Simsport. So maybe he would be available to whoever. Martin Yoon and Adam Shipstone are part of NAB Racing, but they're doing stuff on the side. Hannes Pitkanen is alone at Usagi. Matt Molnar, I think. I don't remember who is running with Matt. I apologize, Matt. If you hear that, Matt, I apologize. I forgot who your teammate are. Lots of strong drivers that are not running with the quote-unquote strong teams. So it's gonna be interesting to see the off-season movement, the silly season, if you can call it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Matt Molnar is with Archer's Brothers Esports, and if he's looking to run with somebody else, or maybe even get a couple people with him on Archer Brothers Esports, we're definitely trying to encourage that, because like you said, there is a lot of strong independents out there looking for a team, and I think with the competition growing, you're gonna need some sort of teammate to help you out even further, because I know for me, I spend probably 20, 30, 40 hours just working that setup, and without my partners at Iconic Motorsports, I know Andrew this year had a huge impact in making sure we had a proper setup for race day, to make sure that you have somebody with you that can help you, because as the competition gets stronger, it's gonna be harder to get that right setup. Andrew, do you think how do you feel about having a team and how vital that is to success in the Classic IndyCar Series?
It is important to have a team. It doesn't matter if you are someone who can build good setups or just looking for setups, because for one, feedback does help comparing with other drivers to try to extract the maximum out of the car. And of course, if you are not good in setups, you're a bit lost if you do not have access to a competitive setup.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I know that Vortex this year, holy cow, you guys scored over 1,000 points between your team and Robert. I mean, you guys are a seasoned team, but without your teammates, do you feel like you would have had as much success this season without having a team on your side?
Okay, if I'm mean now, I would say without one particular teammate, I would have been champion this year. Because
yeah, if they don't wreck you.
because he was finishing ahead of me. Simply,
Oh.
he was not there at all. Then I would be. No, but on a more serious note, of course, it is always a collaboration. Every driver, it's not like every race, all 3 or 4 of us are like doing the exact same workload. It's about availability, about preferences for tracks, but every time someone is contributing whatever he can in that moment. Like I can tell, like our fellow Tristan Hauser, he's always very keen on Indy, and he was doing the majority of testing for this particular race. It was on him. For other races, it was then sometimes a bit more on Luca, sometimes a bit more on me, and so on. It is very important. And but I want to add also one thing to the point before, to when we talked about the independence. We have a couple of drivers which are doing very well, which have a team name next to their driver's name on the Dunlisa side, but they are still running lonely because their teammates are not in CIS. I want to mention Carsten Brodovi with the IndyCar Enthusiast Racing team. I want to mention, I think Marshall Stanley was already mentioned with Stantera Simsport, Joni Kajanen, Mindtrick Motorsports, and also Stefan Rossmann with Mühlner Motorsports Sim Racing. All these guys, although having a team name there in CIS, they are running alone. They might be interested to team up with someone else just for CIS and also taking benefit of the collaboration.
Yeah, I was going to say, just because you run an individual team banner, I guess, if you will, for the Classic IndyCar Series, it definitely helps to even have some other people that may be running individually. I know you can always ask me for any questions regarding setups or stuff like that, but even if, you got a couple of those independent independent drivers for these teams for a Classic IndyCar Series. Just those two teams just pairing up and bouncing ideas off each other will definitely improve the success to be able to create the best car possible for what seems to be a growing competition in the league. So we definitely want to encourage teams discussion to get used in this off season, and try and pair some people up. Feel free to personally message me or other admins in the Classic IndyCar Series if you have any questions regarding that. I know for 2021 or 2020 has been some crazy team growth for Iconic. We ended up finishing third this year in points, which was a very awesome accomplishment, I feel, for Iconic Motorsports in our first year as second year as a team, but first year really growing as the team. So I think we did great in the off season to prepare for this season, and had a really good finish overall in the year, having Logan Simmons win his first race for Iconic. That was pretty awesome. I know Chimera did very well this year with finishing, what was it, third, fourth, and fifth? Let me see here.
I think so, yeah. 3, 4, 5, yeah.
Yeah, championships. 3, 4, 5 in the championship this year. So that was definitely a great opportunity for them to do well. And Vortex, obviously, you guys dominated a good chunk of the season. If Lucas wasn't on the podium, you were on the podium, Robert. AeroX, I think they missed Matt a little bit this year, but man, they still finished off pretty well with Andrew Wood, or I'm sorry, not Andrew Wood, Randy Shoemake and Andrew Aiken both finishing in the top 10. Oh, I guess Andrew Aiken just finished outside the top 10, but still a very promising season for those guys as well. Randy Shoemake coming away with the win at Kentucky even. So we have 3 teams right there that came away with the win. And then NAB Racing also had a good year this year with the win as well. Team Chimera and then Vortex obviously have been dominant this year in the wins. NAB Racing was had some great finishes this year as well. For 2021, though, I think that it's going to be even tougher. How do you feel about that, Andrew?
Well, it's difficult to say if it's going to be tougher, because for one, of course, everyone is going to try leveling up their A game, but I heard some rumors. I may confirm from the source that Vortex lead driver Robert Grosser might change to part-time and have an influence on their performance, considering it's really a Lucas Grosser team and the other 2 team members are only along for the ride.
That's a point of view.
Yeah, so do you think, Lucas, do you think that Vortex next year is going to be hurting without Robert Grosser there for all the races?
Robert, what do you think? Do you think we're in trouble without you, or? No, I think we'll do.
You are lost without me.
Oh, yeah. I had no one to punt. What am I going to do? Yeah, no, I think we'll do great. I'm ready to carry on now, the team lead on track, if I could say that, because we've been pretty good and we've always been open with each other. So, I mean, I don't think things will change. We have good knowledge of the car, obviously, for so long now. So that will not change. I won't have anyone to pull me and to save fuel that I know. So that's going to change for me, that's for sure. But I'm still very confident of the team's potential.
Okay.
We'll see who runs. That's the main thing, but I'll be there.
Yeah, for
first
sure.
and foremost.
So I was thinking, like, AeroX, like I said, they didn't have Matt Cook this year, but man, Randy Shoemake did great. Andrew Aiken did great. So I really think that they are going to have a strong time next year. Martin He only raced 2 races this year for AeroX, so he didn't really get his chance to shine enough. But I feel like he had some good finishes as well. And then NABs, obviously, did they have a full chance to race this season? No, I think
They
only
arrived
raced-
too late.
Yeah,
they joined only late in the season, NAB, and started to shine from the very beginning, like pole position at Montreal for one of their team members, Martin,
Mhm.
and the other one took away the victory in the same race.
Mr. Adam
So
Shipstone.
that was Adam Shipstone, exactly, and they started really strong. The Aero X2 pole positions for Andrew Aitken, that was great. Great stuff for him, and I think quite some runner-up finishes there, at least at Vegas. Once at Vegas he was second. Randy's
Both
win,
these guys are very yeah.
his maiden win, I have to point out, really, and you cannot count out anyone. It will be very competitive, and also I think I will still make most of the races. Just the other things I have to step back a little bit, but for the racing I will be there. And something I learned this year is that when I'm not like too much preparing, then I'm doing better sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely feel the pressure of over practicing, especially when you get into a race and you end up finding yourself getting taken out pretty early. That's probably got to be the most disheartening thing. So it actually is kind of nice to not over practice, I feel like. But if Josh Chin shows up next year for Team Chimera, I really think that Team Chimera has a shot at the title too. So I'm excited for 2021 and seeing what each of these teams are going to bring for us. I know that Iconic, we're growing, so hopefully next year we'll be possibly alongside Vortex and Chimera again, and then Aero X has a long name for themselves, and NAB is up and coming as well. I'd like to see them full time next year. But we're coming up.
If I may, before we go to break, speaking about Chimera, we do mention Josh a lot about Chimera because Josh is so good, but Jamie has been very strong and is so good at everything on iRacing. I mean, really, all the league stuff Chimera is involved in, Jamie is always there and being super strong. And Andrew Zamboni Wood as well is super strong in real life in the kart and has really improved this year as well in CIS, as we can see with him finishing 5th in the standing. It's not small feat. And I mean, if the lineup of Chimera keeps being strong every week, with maybe Liam Quinn joining, maybe Niall McBride still coming in. Don't count them out for the title. And if Josh doesn't race next year, I mean, it's still very possible that could get everything with Jamie and Zamboni being the lead drivers for them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I know I found myself often alongside Niall McBride in very tough races throughout the year. I think he had a couple of races where it was just an unfortunate incident that led to his demise, so give him a couple of those races back where he could finish better than where he did, and you're talking he's probably up there in the top 10 with us as well. So I really think it's going to be an awesome 2021 looking at some of these teams and some of the quality racing that is going to happen this next year. But we're coming up on another break, guys, so we're going to take this time to let our sponsors get a couple words in, and we'll be back in a moment. IndyCar Ministry is the official pastoral care of the NTT IndyCar Series, Road to Indy, and the MX5 Cup. And we're focused on building relationships within the IndyCar community by serving those involved with the love of Christ. IndyCar Ministry is a non-profit, non-denominational organization that provides at-track services, counseling, and support in times of crisis for the IndyCar community at every race, as well as at home. IndyCar Ministry is supported entirely through donations from the racing community, and we invite you to partner with us. Visit our website at indycarministry.org, or like us on Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to see what we're all about. Welcome back from the second break, everybody. We're getting ready to wrap up this podcast. I think we did a great job at trying to break down 2020 and talk about the promises that are coming for 2021. But right now, it's time to take the break for the off season. I know for myself, I'm going to definitely try and practice my road game. I'll probably do some road races in the winter league, even though I've been procrastinating signing up for that. And then maybe do some other road course events with the team here in the off season, maybe some of the special events. Lucas, do you have any idea of what you're going to do with all your free time this off season?
Well, as you mentioned, my dear Josh, the winter series coming up very, very soon. In fact, the first race is this weekend at the historical Silverstone circuit. A good 30-lapper, 100-mile race, just under 100 mile actually. So yeah, we're gonna have a good time with that. Very casual series, running every couple of weeks, starting this weekend, December 6th. Usual time slot for CIS, so nothing to be worried about as far as that is concerned. Fast repair available, just one. So if you want to come and practice your racecraft with us, you're very much welcome. Sign up is open on the forums. I think we'll already have somewhere around 10 or 12 signees already, but it's gonna stay open for a while, and yeah, everything's gonna be very, very fun indeed.
Is it going to be a good mix between road and oval courses, or just mostly just mess around courses?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just gonna give out the schedule. It's already out on Danley's if anyone wants to check that out. So we start at Silverstone, as I mentioned. Then we're December 20th. We'll be at Pocono, the old Pocono, the good one, with the bumps and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Then we were in for the new year, January 3rd. We'll be at Alton Park, the international layout without the Brilliant chicane. January 17th. We'll do some good old short. I was gonna say short track, but Charlotte is not a short track by any means. But it's gonna be a very close one, very tight race at the old Charlotte layout for 83 laps, 125 miles. Then we go to Okayama on January 31st and wrap up the winter series at the old Daytona International Speedway.
Oh,
for
man.
50 laps of absolute carnage, mayhem, whatever you want to call it. But the bumps will make it fun. We will try to keep the races kind of short, between 80 and 95 miles for a road course and 125 miles for the ovals. Not too long, but still a bit of strategy involves. Pit stops will be part of it. So yeah, it's gonna be good fun. Casual but good fun.
So you're saying if I since I am not only hold one statistic for Classic IndyCar Series, if I want to improve my statistics next year, I should probably join the winter league to get some practice.
Oh, you should. Oh yeah, you should.
But okay, well, that'll help. And even with the teams discussion we were having earlier, if you want to test out your new team, the best way to do it is this winter league. So I highly encourage anybody that's listening to this podcast and you haven't signed up for the winter league yet, just join in on it. I mean, it's not nearly as hardcore as the regular Classic IndyCar Series league, and it'll give you a chance to mess around, practice, and kick your boots off and have a fun time. And with all the other members of the Classic IndyCar Series community. Andrew, I've heard that you might be participating in some stuff outside of iRacing. What do you have going on?
Participating outside iRacing, the main thing I do is either Pokemon or Magic Gathering, and I do that already during the season. Well, but what I do on iRacing, well, the one thing is, of course, the iRacing Le Mans Endurance Series. I never do the sprint stuff. For me, way too short. But other than that, well, even though I have registered myself for the Winter Series, as many of you may know, I will only do it when I'm feeling like it to drive. I'm only going to do it part-time, as I just interested to do some other stuff than the same old IR05. It can get a little bit boring if I drive the same thing over and over and over again.
I agree.
Yeah, but still, I will do a lot of prototype driving. And still looking for some F1 stuff.
Yeah, F1 with the new tire model, that's got to be a lot of fun too. I haven't had the chance to look into that yet, but I can imagine that with multiple tire options, it definitely changes the game from an F1 perspective. And so you're a prototype driver normally in the off-season leagues. Do you have any races you got coming up that you're really looking forward to, or?
Well, not many. The one I'm looking forward to will be the 24 hours in Daytona at the end of January. I believe as we can get a bigger team going once again. I'm looking forward to that, even though I kind of dislike the track.
Yeah, I definitely understand that one. But yeah, it's nice to keep up on your game in the off season for Classic IndyCar Series, or maybe Classic IndyCar Series isn't the #1 league in not everybody's personal iRacing goals. I know I find myself dedicating most of my time to Classic IndyCar Series myself, but it's nice to have something in the off season to look forward to. So I think we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up for this podcast, and a couple things I wanted to cover really quick before we go is I think we're going to start having some goals for the podcast. We're going to plan on doing this podcast once a month. We'll try and bring some guest people on. If you're interested in joining a podcast for a session, feel free to reach out to myself, Josh Baird, for more information on that. I would love to have you on to talk to you about your experiences with Classic IndyCar Series and maybe some of the things you're looking forward to. The other thing is I would really appreciate it if you commented and shared these podcasts. It really helps to get exposure to the Classic IndyCar Series, and the more exposure means the more sponsorships we can get to help cover some of these high costs of running a league, and it would definitely help bring in some quality driving and get some vision or visual on the YouTube channel and such. So any way you guys can help out is definitely greatly appreciated. And we're also looking for sponsors for the 2021 season. We have quite a few great sponsors as it is, but as I said earlier, it costs a lot of money to run a league. So any sponsorship would definitely help us out. I would like to thank Virtual Race Car Engineer, EDIFICE, IndyCar Ministry, and NUCENTRIC Solutions for helping us out so much in the 2020 season. Without them, it would have been a lot harder to make it through. Lucas, do you have any closing statements you'd like to make about this 2020 season, and any thanks you'd like to shout out to?
Well, first of all, since we've lost Robert since the second break, I would like to give a big shout out to Robert. He's been doing so much for this league since it started, since the car got retired from official racing on iRacing in 2013 actually. So yeah, of course, a big shout out to Robert and to all the stewards that helped us through the years. Jesus, I'm losing my English. Big thanks to all the stewards, and last but not least to all the drivers that have raced and are still racing. Thank you for the support. This is a very hard car to drive and to be very fast on, but it's very rewarding. Thanks to everybody that's following us, and we'll try to keep it a great league. What we feel like is a great league, at least, and an enjoyable place to have a good time and drive on Sunday evenings.
Yeah, I agree. appreciate all that you said. I would definitely second that. It's been I would argue that maybe Classic IndyCar Series is one of the best communities in iRacing, and hopefully, as admins, it's our goal to make Classic IndyCar Series the best league we can possibly make it. So if there's any way we can improve on that, and just let us know. And we definitely appreciate everybody that takes the time to view us and takes the time to race with us every Sunday. Andrew, I think it's your turn to give your final statement. If you have any thanks you'd like to shout out to or anything like that, feel free.
Well, I would thank all my supporters, if I have any. And, of course, thank you for everyone for the support, and also the league members for a great time, and basically hope for a good 2021.
Yeah, I agree. I think 2021 is going to be pretty sweet in the Classic IndyCar Series. I'm already looking forward to it after some of the discussions we had today. But that's all we have time for, guys. I appreciate you turning in to the first ever Classic IndyCar Series podcast series, sponsored by yours truly, and I look forward to many more of these. Feel free to reach out to me if you would like your chance to participate. Have a great day, guys.